Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation for today is Gujari Mahalla Panjwa Tipade Kar Duja. 3 stanzas. And the recitation first. Ek oankar Satgur Prasad Dukh Binase Sukh kiya Nivasa Trishna jalan bujhai Naam nidhan Satgur dridaya Binas na aave jai Har jap maya bandhan toote Bhai kripal dayal prabh mere साध संगत मिल छूटे रहाओ आठ पहर हर के गुण गावे भगत प्रेम रस माता हरक सोग दो मह निराला करने हार पछाता जिसका सा तिन ही रख लिया सगल जुगत बन आई कहो नानक प्रभ पुरख दयाला कीमत कहन न जाई जिसका सा तिन ही रख लिया सगल जुगत बन आई कहो नानक प्रभ पुरख दयाला कीमत कहन न जाई. So this is the process to access what is called Nam Nidhan, the treasure of self-knowledge, the wisdom of self-knowledge. For that, you first have to break the bondage of Maya. What does that mean? Maya is essentially a symbol for the ego. And the ego, by its very nature, is constricting. It holds you back, binds you to the physical world, and prevents you from actually accessing your creative center. So Guruji says, in order to break the hold of the ego, you have to understand what the ego is. You have to understand the nature of the self. What is the relationship between the self, the essence that we are trying to access, and the ego, which actually is our navigational tool. So he says for that you need to understand these 2 elements and their nature, the nature of their relationship. So in the Rahao, he says, Har jap maya bandhan toote. So understand the self, the nature of the self, comprehend, and then you will realize that Maya, or the ego, is just a shadow to the real self. And once you understand something, you basically are liberated by it. It no longer holds you down or no longer ties you down. How do you do that? The Guru explains his own experience. He says, Bhai kripal dayal prabh mere. My master was compassionate and merciful to me, and through its kindness, I found companionship with the Sadh Sangat Mil. And in the company of the Sadh Sangat, I contemplated the self. And when that contemplative awareness arose in me, and I began to understand the nature of Maya and its bondage, I was able to find liberation. So Prabh, meaning the controller, the indwelling controller within us, which is the creative center, it's also called the Prabh Purak. In the concluding stanza, it is also referenced to as Satgur. It's that enlightened center that we need to access. Without that, we cannot begin to understand the self. So in the initial setting, the first stanza, the Guru says, he tells us what are the conditions. The first is to make a commitment. Naam Nidhan Satguru Dridaya. Dridaya is to implant, to establish, to embed. The Satguru will establish or implant or instill in you that knowledge only when you make the commitment. Dridata is also resolution. Naam Nidhan Satguru Dridaya. So it works both ways. There has to be a total commitment, and then the Satguru will teach you how to uncover and assimilate the treasure of self-knowledge, Naam Nidhan. So in order to do that, there are some preconditions. You work on putting out the fire of desire. Dukh Binase Sukh kiya Nivasa Trisna jalan bujhai. That's the transformation that comes about. So what is being asked for is a wholehearted commitment. That is what it is meant by putting out desire, meaning you have to put aside all distractions. Only then can the Satguru establish itself as a coherent link between the ego and the self. And once that link is established by the Satguru, and the Satguru is indeed the link, that brings about a unitive, integrated experience, and that is the basis of a creative life. So those are the conditions. And once the link is established, in other words, when realization of that wisdom happens, you recognize it as being innate to you. Har kusog doy meh niralla karne har pachata. Pachata is recognizing it. And once you recognize that, you are filled with devotion and wisdom and love. Bhagat prem rasamata. And now you remain mindful of this wisdom. Day and night, aat pahar har ke gun gaave. Bhagat prem, with devotion and love. And then you treat sorrow and happiness alike. You're balanced. The excitations of the mind have been overcome through this knowledge. And so says Nanak, in gratitude to the infinite mercy of that indwelling self in us, Prabha Purkha Dayala, that I discovered the priceless art of living. कीमत कहन न जाए, priceless. Sagal jugat, the way, which is submit unto that self to whom you belong. Submission will take you there into that creative and sacred space. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.